go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to today's Arthritis at Work session powered by the Arthritis Foundation. We're so glad you could join us. A couple of quick housekeeping notes before we dive in. All attendees are muted to minimize background noise. We'll have time for Q&A at the end, but please feel free to drop your questions in the question and answer feature as they come to mind, and we'll circle back to them. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. So before we dive in, I'd like to take a moment to introduce today's speakers and give you a quick look at our agenda. My name is Stephanie Hudgins, and I serve as the Director of Field Engagement for the Arthritis Foundation with a special focus on arthritis at work. I'll be starting us off with an overview of arthritis and the Arthritis at Work program. And I'm joined today by Caitlin Rudolph, Employee Wellness Coordinator with the Missouri Department of Corrections. Caitlin will be sharing her perspective on why arthritis at work matters and how it makes a difference in the workplace. Together, we'll give you both the big picture and a real-world example of this program in action. So one of the most common myths about arthritis is that it's an old person's disease, and the reality is very different. Arthritis affects people of all ages, including working adults, young parents, and even children. In fact, nearly 2/3 of adults with arthritis are under the age of 65. That means that this isn't just a retirement age issue. It's something that affects people in the workforce every single day. And it's one of the reasons why programs like Arthritis at Work are so important. So, what exactly is arthritis? If we actually break down the word, it's pretty simple. Arthro means joint, and itis means inflammation. So, arthritis literally means joint inflammation. On the right side of the slide, you see a picture of a healthy joint. All of the parts, the cartilage, synovial membrane, ligaments, and fluid, work together to help us move smoothly and without pain. When arthritis develops, the balance is disrupted. The joint becomes inflamed, which leads to pain, stiffness, and reduced mobility. And depending on the type of arthritis, different structures in the joint can be affected. When we say arthritis, it's important to remember we're not talking about just one disease. Arthritis is actually an umbrella term that covers more than 100 different conditions. Here are a few of the most common ones. Osteoarthritis, which is traditionally linked to aging, wear, and tear, but it can also affect younger adults. Rheumatoid arthritis, an autoimmune disease where the body's immune system attacks the joints and sometimes other organs. Gout, which is a painful form of arthritis that comes in sudden flares. Psoriatic arthritis, another autoimmune condition, which often occurs in people who have psoriasis, a skin condition. Axial spondyloarthritis, or AXPA, which primarily affects the spine, but it can involve other joints and organs too. And juvenile arthritis, which affects hundreds of thousands of children and teens in the US. So arthritis isn't just one thing. It's a whole group of diseases that affect people in very different ways. Osteoarthritis is the most common form of arthritis, affecting more than 32 million US adults. It's caused by wear and tear on the joints, and it does often impact people over 50, but injuries and obesity can cause it to onset earlier. Now picture inviting an employee with osteoarthritis to attend a conference 500 miles away. On one hand, they're excited. It's a chance to network and contribute. But in the back of their mind, they're thinking, will my knees hurt walking through the airport? Will I be able to lift my bag overhead? Will the long days on my feet wipe me out? This shows us that employees with arthritis are balancing enthusiasm with very real physical challenges. And when leaders recognize those, they can better support participation and success. Gout is another form of inflammatory arthritis caused by uric acid buildup, leading to sudden and severe joint pain, often in the big toe. It affects around 9 million adults, most often men over 40. One day, an employee might show up with just a slight limp, and it may not look like much on the surface. But inside, they're thinking, I barely slept last night. My toe is swollen, but not enough to call in. The doctor can't fix this flare, and I still want to be there for my team. This is an example of how arthritis isn't always visible, but still impacts how employees show up to work every single day. Rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease where the immune system attacks the joints, causing pain, swelling, and fatigue. It affects about 1.3 million Americans, most often women in their 30s through 60s. Imagine an employee whose rheumatologist just prescribed an infusion treatment. They may be thinking, my whole body hurts, but will my boss understand my time off requests? What if I have side effects? This copay is expensive. At least I'll finally have more energy for this project once I feel better. RA shows us that employees are often managing not just pain, but also treatment schedules, financial stress, and concern about delivering at work. Employers who offer flexibility and understanding make a tremendous difference. Axial spondyloarthritis, or AXPA, is a chronic inflammatory disease that primarily affects the spine and where the spine meets the pelvis. It often begins in young adulthood and affects about 1 in 200 adults in the US. Now picture a young intern thrilled to start their career. On the surface, they're thinking, I can't wait to tell my professor I landed this job. I'm so grateful to have an office. But silently, they're also asking, is this chair making my back worse? Everyone's back hurts. Maybe mine isn't serious. I'll just need to walk it off at lunch. AXPA highlights how arthritis doesn't just affect older adults, it affects young professionals too, often before they've even shared what they're going through. Awareness and workplace flexibility are critical. Psoriatic arthritis is an autoimmune form of arthritis that affects about 1.5 million Americans. It causes joint pain, swelling, and stiffness, often along with visible skin symptoms. PSA can strike adults at any age, and both men and women are equally affected. Imagine picture day at work. On the surface, it's all smiles, but for someone with PSA, the inner dialogue might be, I really hope my elbows aren't exposed. I hope I don't look too tired. Maybe if I use extra lotion, the redness will calm down. This shows how PSA adds another layer of stress in professional settings, not only managing pain and fatigue, but also visible symptoms that can affect confidence at work. And finally, let's talk about juvenile arthritis. Hundreds of thousands of children in the US live with JA, and when they do, their parents, your employees, carry that stress with them to work. Picture a parent getting a call that their child is in pain. Their thoughts might be, we just saw the doctor 2 weeks ago. How quickly can we get another appointment? I hope my child is okay. I'm thankful my boss is understanding, but how much time off can I take? JA is a reminder that arthritis doesn't just impact the individual, it ripples outwards into families, workplaces, and communities. Supporting parents who are managing their child's arthritis means supporting your workforce as a whole. As you can see, arthritis isn't one single condition. It takes many different forms. It can affect older adults, young professionals just starting out, and even children, which means their parents are impacted too. What these stories show us is that arthritis doesn't just cause joint pain, it creates invisible challenges that ripple through daily life, affecting energy, focus, confidence, and ultimately how someone shows up at work. We've seen what arthritis looks like in the day-to-day lives. Now let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Arthritis is far more than just a little pain. It's the number one cause of disability in the US. And it doesn't just affect older adults. 60 to 70% of people with arthritis are under 65. They're still in the workforce. That means that 1 in 4 of your staff could be living with this condition. The ripple effect is huge. Arthritis is the second largest driver of employer healthcare costs, responsible for 172 million lost workdays each year and costing over 300 billion annually in medical expenses and lost wages. So when we talk about supporting employees with arthritis, we're not just talking about compassion. We're talking about workforce productivity, costs, and retention. Beyond just the physical toll and the cost to the workplace, what's often overlooked is the emotional toll. Half of employees with arthritis feel regularly fatigued, and nearly 60% feel like nobody really understands what they're going through. 2 out of 3 say they felt anxious or fearful just in the past week, and over 70% report depression. This is the hidden side of arthritis. It's not only about the sore joints, it's about employees who are showing up every day, carrying both the physical pain and emotional strain. And when workplaces don't understand this, employees can feel isolated or unsupported. We've just seen the physical, emotional, and financial toll of arthritis. But here's the good news. Employers have a real opportunity to make a difference. On the left, you can see what employees with arthritis say they need. Things like self-care resources, stretch breaks, ergonomic equipment, flexible schedules, and above all, a culture of compassion. But on the right, you see what employers often say. They don't hear about arthritis in the workplace. They don't have any arthritis specific programs. Or employees with arthritis tend to just soldier on. This gap is critical. Employees often suffer in silence while employers underestimate the impact. And that's exactly where Arthritis at Work comes in, bridging that gap by equipping employers with the tools and resources to support their workforce. Everything we've shared so far points to one truth. Arthritis in the workplace isn't just a health issue, it's a workforce issue as well. But here's the good news, you don't have to start from scratch to address it. That's where Arthritis at Work comes in. This is a free program from the Arthritis Foundation designed to integrate seamlessly into your existing wellness efforts. We provide turnkey resources from manager how-to guides to pain management programs for employees that ensure your workforce feels seen, supported, and able to thrive. And more than just about being compassionate, supporting the 1 in 4 employees living and working with arthritis can lead to fewer missed workdays, higher productivity, and lower healthcare costs. So, by investing in employee well being, you're also investing in your bottom line. So, why does arthritis at work matter? If we have employees who have better physical health, they're able to show up to work more consistently when they're supposed to be there. They're able to do that without pain or less pain, and they have an increased ability when they are not feeling the pain of their arthritis. Second, better emotional and social health leads to greater productivity. When you feel better, you can do better. And of course, happier, healthier employees lead to lower healthcare costs. Preventative measures and smart workplace strategies can help reduce medical expenses and improve health outcomes, which means healthier, happier employees and a stronger bottom line. And that's the win-win of Arthritis at Work. It benefits both people and the business. This is what it looks like in action. We don't just highlight the problem, we also provide real practical solutions for employees, managers, and the business as a whole. For employees with arthritis, we offer resources that make their daily lives easier: a helpline, support groups, webinars, podcasts, and even guidance on healthcare plan choices. For managers or supervisors, we have digital tools so they know how to support their teams, from what to say and maybe what not to say, to practical ways to help employees succeed in their roles. And for the business, while Arthritis at Work is completely free, it does have a time and effort component, and Arthritis at Work should integrate seamlessly into your wellness strategy. You're going to get onboarding on how to use and integrate Arthritis at Work, a co-branded landing page, access to promotional tools, and of course, recognition by the Arthritis Foundation. This isn't a one-size-fits-all program. It's a comprehensive tool that strengthens employee well-being and your bottom line at the same time. This is really the heart of the Arthritis at Work program, a co-branded digital interface. It's designed to be simple, accessible, and customized to your organization. There are no usernames or passwords to remember, so employees can immediately access the resources they need. We also make this feel like your program. We co-brand the platform with your company's logo, and we provide you with a customized URL that employees can easily remember and access. And this interface is available in both English and Spanish, so it's accessible to more of your workforce. Within the platform, employees have access to topics that matter most to them, from healthy eating tips to safe physical activity guidance, pain management strategies, and even mental health and well-being resources like sleep solutions and stress reduction. The goal is to provide employees with practical, trustworthy tools they can use immediately in their daily lives. But this program doesn't stop with employees. We know managers play a huge role in workplace culture and employee well-being. In fact, research shows 69% of employees say their manager impacts their mental health, on par with a spouse or partner, and more than doctors or therapists. That's why we include specific resources for managers, giving them the tools to support employees with arthritis and create a more inclusive workplace. Here's a snapshot of the exclusive content available in the Arthritis at Work platform. They can dive into healthy eating, pain management strategies, physical activity tips that are realistic for people living and working with arthritis. There's also mental health and well being tools like mindfulness, resilience training, and sleep solutions. And for managers, there are guides on what to say and what not to say to employees managing arthritis, practical guidance on the various types of arthritis and how they might affect your employee, and real tips for how to help them succeed. Everything is supposed to be practical, digestible, and easy to use. Finally, this program connects employees and organizations back to the larger arthritis community. Beyond the digital platform, employees can join webinars, support groups, listen to the Live Yes Arthritis podcast, advocacy opportunities, and even community events like the Walk to Cure Arthritis or Jingle Bell Run. It's about creating connection and support so no one feels like they're facing arthritis alone. Now, you might be wondering, this all sounds great, but how hard is it to get started? And the good news is it's really simple. We provide a full communications toolkit to make implementation easy. That includes the Arthritis at Work logo, kickoff event ideas to help you launch internally, approved language you can use right away, a sample launch email, and customizable posters and flyers. Everything is ready made so your team can start engaging employees from day one without having to reinvent the wheel. We also have a bi-monthly email series for our Arthritis at Work partner stakeholders that includes additional tools to promote your Arthritis at Work interface. We want you to know you would be in good company by joining the Arthritis Foundation to provide arthritis at work for your staff. Many organizations, from global corporations like L'Oreal, Panera, and Caterpillar, to school districts, hospitals, and local wellness programs, have already partnered with us through Arthritis at Work. What this shows is that arthritis impacts every type of workforce across industries and geographies. No matter the size or sector, companies are recognizing that supporting employees with arthritis is both the right thing to do and also smart business. So, we've covered the impact of arthritis, the challenges employees face, and the ways Arthritis at Work can provide solutions for both your workforce and your business. And the question is really simple. Are you in? Joining is pretty easy. We do have a short commitment form, which launches our partnership and starts off us co-branding and customizing your Arthritis at Work interface so that your employees can access it. Together, we can make sure your employees feel supported, stay productive, and know they don't have to navigate arthritis alone. Before I introduce our guest speaker, I'm actually going to take a moment to share why this work matters to me personally. I was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis at just 2 years old after developing persistent inflammation in my ankle shortly after I began walking. It became so painful that I actually stopped walking altogether. Throughout my childhood, I struggled to find the right treatments and medications. It was a constant cycle of trial and error. My first job was babysitting, and even then, I found it hard to keep up with the kids I was caring for. In college, the cartilage in my right hip completely deteriorated, causing a noticeable limp. I was working in restaurants at the time, and just getting through a single shift left me in pain for days. At just 24 years old, I had my right hip replaced. And I share this story not because it's unique, but because it's not. I represent the invisible employee in your workplace, the one quietly navigating chronic pain while still showing up, doing their best, and pushing through. And that's exactly why Arthritis at Work matters. Even a small change can make a big difference for employees living and working with arthritis. Now I'm excited to introduce our guest speaker, Caitlin Rudolph. Caitlin is the Employee Wellness Coordinator at the Missouri Department of Corrections and brings nearly 20 years of experience across medicine, social services, health, and wellness. Her career began in emergency medicine, but she quickly realized the power of prevention and resource connection in building healthier communities. Since then, she's dedicated her work to creating a culture of sustainable well being, whether at home, in the workplace, or throughout the broader community. Today, Caitlin will share her perspective on how connecting people to the right resources can transform employee wellness and support a stronger, healthier workforce. Caitlin, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Stephanie. It's a blessing to be able to share. Um, Partnering with Arthritis Foundation has been a huge bonus. Excellent resource for really good information that has reached quite a lot of our staff in really positive ways. Hello, everybody. My name is Caitlin Rudolph. I am the Employee Wellness Coordinator for Missouri Department of Corrections. And in my role, I help staff statewide become aware of and have access to their resources. Resources is a really broad term. It means a lot of different things for everybody. And we intend to meet those needs as best we can in supportive, preventive, and responsive ways across the board. Just a little bit about what we do here. As far as partnering with Arthritis Foundation, how that worked, as Stephanie said, it was simple. It fit right into the campaign that we have for employee wellness. And I'll put the link for that website in the chat here in just a bit. We have a really good framework for communicating resources across the board to all staff all year long. And we're actually in the second year of using the same framework. It worked really well for us last year, and Arthritis Foundation was a big piece of it. This wellness campaign includes awareness materials on specific resources throughout the year that correlate with different dimensions of wellness. In addition to that, we also have a lot of different wellness opportunities throughout the year, different ways that staff can participate. And we try our best to meet them where they're at. So we do a lot of on-site things, we do a lot of virtual things, and we do a lot of passive participation opportunities where you can participate at your own speed from wherever you're at. And then to communicate all those different things out, we use digital, we use paper, we use word of mouth. Getting to know our staff first when we got started was a huge factor in how we learned how to make our wellness campaign and how to make it work well. Within building all of that came creating a network of contacts across the state. So 2 to 5 people at all of our 80 work sites. These individuals are our wellness advocates. It is an unpaid position. It is just an elective opportunity to share about wellness within your team. And of course, we always offer the opportunity for someone to pass that along if it's not for them anymore. But using this team has been a huge plus for our program in that it gives all of our different work sites the opportunity to share out at kind of where they're at, right, with those directly with them within their walls or in their field. So with all of these different continual multi-platform awareness efforts featuring a wide variety of resources, both digital, print, and word of mouth, bringing in these different community resources increases connection over time. People get used to seeing different terms, different verbiage, different organizations, different names, different titles, and start to familiarize with them before they need them, so that when they do need them, they know where to find what they need, and they know how to use it and know how to communicate. When we focus on these different and specific elements of health, we try to approach them generally so that they don't seem so distant to those who might be directly impacted. With arthritis, it's such a widespread thing. Many are impacted by it. And so it was actually pretty familiar with staff from the get-go. And breaking it down into the different elements of health that we've been able to through Arthritis Foundation, through their different speakers, has been a huge thing for us. We've had chronic health, we've had speakers talk on different elements of arthritis, different types of arthritis, and they've all been tuned into pretty well by staff. To encourage participation in these different things, we add the bonus of getting training credit. So all staff that participate in these webinars, which is tracked through WebEx really easily, they get training credit. Just kind of a little bonus for taking the time and putting attention on tuning into different elements of wellness. In addition to that, we also have wellness challenges and competitions all throughout the year. And so last year and this coming year, our focus on arthritis and health with our Arthritis Foundation lined right up with our campaign chapter of health. The previous one was community, and the following was wealth. And we're doing the same thing right now. We're in community again, and we're coming up on health in November. But since it fit right in, it was really easy to tie everything in and make it really relatable to those who wanted to tune in. Those who learned from these different programs were able to apply their new information not only within their person, within their household, within their team, but also within the people we serve. We work with the community and we work with residents in our institutions. So it's always good to learn about different things that impact people in general. So all very well received, fit in really well with all of our different programs, and was easy to encourage with just simple measures. None of those cost anything. The challenges do have some incentives with them. They're typically $20 or less per person. Recently we've moved to coins, and those are even less expensive than like sweatshirts or coffee mugs. So easy things like that are great ways to get people to tune in. Of course, when we have leadership tune in to any of our wellness opportunities, including the 12-week class or any of the health speaker engagements from Arthritis Foundation, we send them thank you cards, right? Really easy way to encourage that to continue. And make sure that we see them as leaders hopping on board with all these different efforts we're doing for wellness. Let's see, I want to make sure I cover all my little points here. The reason or the results we see is the next bullet I have, and that's a really important piece. And I've probably touched on that just a little bit already, but when we use these healthy and positive engagement experiences, it creates a healthier workplace culture. Over time, that spreads, right? There are still groups that are having conversations about what they learned from the various webinars that we had. They're still available to be viewed as well, and they continue to be accessed on our training website, which is pretty cool to see. It's in our electives folder, but anyone can search arthritis or search wellness, and they will find those trainings and they can check into them. We usually have about 10 people view them every month, so that's a pretty good usage rate right there. Then they get the credit as well. We get a lot of gratitude specifically for recognizing different elements of health and not just kind of putting an umbrella term over health, because that can make the specifics of health seem really unobtainable. So we have seen through feedback that when we touch on specifics, it's really well received. Getting started with this, there was some hesitation on doing a subject that was so specific, but we were really able to work to talk through that in a successful way and got all of our leadership on board, because arthritis is such a diverse thing that affects so many people, and it was really easy to see. We did also, let's see, receive feedback that the feeling of ownership of personal health and wellness came along with participation in the 12-week class as well as those webinars. So that came from a couple of different people, that they felt they had a new sense of ownership and onus to kind of manage their health on their terms, to do their research, to ask the questions they wanted to, and to track their health as well. Some didn't know they could or didn't have the skills to before. And so that's a really nice thing to be able to receive from your worksite for free, right? All at the click of a join this webinar link. All participants shared some form of feeling better informed. And it has been just a little more than a year since the start of our 12-week program. and they are all using at least one skill that they either learned or was reinforced through that class. So that's really good feedback too. One of them is using their metered water bottle to keep track of how much they're drinking and they're writing it down. One is still using a focus on lower sugar in her day-to-day routine, just to have better overall nutrition. Several adopted meal planning routines and have stuck to them. And a couple shared that they had exercise routines that kind of fallen out of fashion and out of their routine, but are now back in their routine. So all of those really good responses came from our audience. And another question that we ask is, did you feel supported in participating? And 92% of our participants said yes, they did. That comes with time. That is leadership encouragement, support, and communicating with the leadership beforehand, right? So that's a really important piece of planning any kind of program or starting anything new is asking people what they think, just for transparency, right? Maybe not implementing every suggestion, but knowing that they're received and that there's interest in what those who will be participating have to say, has served us very well. And we've learned that with time, but I'm happy to share that. And I think that's a practice that everyone should definitely take on if you're trying to start anything new. It's putting it all together on paper and then sharing it out, saying this is what we like to do. How would you like to see this work? How can we make it work better for you? And that helps them bring it on home and know that they're a piece of the puzzle. So I could go on and on and on, but I have touched on all my bullet points and I want to leave room for questions if there are any.
Thank you so much, Caitlin, for sharing all of that. Even some of that feedback is not, I hadn't heard since we worked together closely in the beginning of Arthritis at Work and then haven't really worked as closely since then. So it's really great to hear that Arthritis at Work and the work that the Arthritis Foundation is doing is really going really well to everyone. And I remember in our initial conversations about arthritis at work that you thought that it was so much more, it was applicable to everyone, not just those with arthritis. I remember you pointing that out as one of the things you were going to take back to leadership of like, it's not just about arthritis. This stuff works for everybody, which is something that I hear from lots of arthritis at work partners. And while everyone didn't get to dive deep into a demo during this call, I want to point that out that a lot of this is preventative care for any type of chronic illness or pain. And so it could be a really great resource, even for those who don't have a traditional arthritis diagnosis. And then I will check to see if we have some questions. Okay, you were able to put some links in the chat. Perfect.
Yes, I put the link to our public facing website, gives a good overview of kind of the MODOC Cares team and what we do. And then the second link is to our wellness campaign overview. And you'll see Arthritis Foundation mentioned on there in the health portion. But feel free to peruse and yeah.
Yeah, and thanks so much for sharing that. Sometimes it's very helpful for potential partners to see how it's being done at other companies. So it's always nice to see that. While we wait to see if anyone has any questions to put in the Q&A feature, I can answer some of the most often asked questions that I get about arthritis at work is how one of the biggest questions I always get is it really free? And it really is. Caitlin can confirm we've never asked her organization for a donation or any type of sponsorship. The Arthritis at Work program is truly about getting resources in front of employees who are living and working with arthritis and need access to these resources. Another question I also get all the time is, oh, is my company too small or too big, or am I the right industry for the program? And really, any industry is applicable, can use the resources in Arthritis at Work to their benefit. There is no company size that where it works best, and there is no industry where it is best. Whether your staff is sitting at a desk all day, is traveling from location to location on a regular basis, manual labor, construction, we have touched pretty much every industry in the workforce in America. So, and we hear great feedback from all of them.
Yeah. On the first thing that you touched on just now, no cost, which was fantastic. A free source is a wonderful thing. And there also is not necessarily a contract. The commitment form is a good thing. It's for us, it was viewed more as an agreement. And so that didn't require such like there's no money commitment for one.
Right.
And it didn't require such legalese, I suppose. I mean, they did
Yeah.
review it, looked over it, gave it a thumbs up once they were able to look into it, but it didn't take nearly as long as something with a contract. So that's another great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely went into that, creating that commitment form with what do we absolutely need to know from a company um, in order to get started with arthritis at work. And so we intentionally do not have any kind of signature line on there. We're really just asking for who are the right stakeholders at your company or organization so that we can make sure we're keeping you updated on all things arthritis at work. And we don't have that kind of brings up the data security question that I also get quite a bit is like, what can you see about my employees? And the answer is nothing. I can't see anything about one specific staff member who utilizes arthritis at work. I can see globally how many people are engaging with your arthritis at work digital interface, and I can see what they're most often clicking on, and I can provide that type of data to you as a company and as a stakeholder for your company, but I cannot see any specific information, and we don't hold anyone's information unless they participate in an opt-in activity. So registering for webinar, they would be sharing their information. They are not required to share their work information. They could share their personal information, and we would never know that they came from the Arthritis at Work interface. So that's always good too, because many employees are very hesitant about sharing any kind of health information with their workplace.
Yes. So super valid, very true. But we have seen the capability to do so in a safe setting to be very liberating to our staff. It's not often that those who have really long hours throughout the week have an opportunity to explore much beyond what is absolutely necessary. So fitting in elective things is really tough sometimes. Um, we've made it really simple to fit those things in. While we do have staff that work on the front line and in the field, we do have high encouragement from those that are in office positions to create things like conference spaces where they can view the webinar and participate that way. So they can just walk in and don't have to worry about the tech or any piece of that. And that made it really accessible too. But when a there's of course always has hesitation to be part of the Q&A, right? Or feel like you're outing yourself as having a problem. But when one does, usually 10 more do. And so, with that in mind, it is always pretty wise to have some audience plants. And I mean that in the best way possible, not in a scripted way, but in a way that encourages those that have already shared, hey, I'm really looking forward to this, or hey, this is great. I've got, XYZ relative that's going through this right now, or hey, I'm going through this right now and be like, that's excellent. Would you be interested in raising a hand during the Q&A, and just put it out there that directly that it's welcome. Um, and that usually kind of makes room for those conversations to happen. But that comes with time and connection and just letting people know what a safe space is and that it's not um, a mechanism of response, right? You're not going to be on that webinar and get a diagnosis and a prescription. That's not going to happen. No one's going to call your doctor. No one's going to call your wife. Like no one's going to call your boss kind of thing. You just get some training credit and that's it. Um, but breaking down those barriers of the unknown is important along the way too. So we do that in the housekeeping with every webinar that we do. And we've been at it for so long that people are just through word of mouth kind of saying, hey, tune into this thing, tune into that thing. And
That's great.
now people do expect good things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always like to say that if there are no questions at the end of the presentation, then you did a really good job explaining what your point is. um, and that there just truly are no questions because you did such a great job explaining it. So I am hoping that is the case today, as we still don't have any questions in the Q&A chat. So Kaylin, I'm going to give us a round of applause. We must have done a very, very good job explaining everything today. So if anyone has any questions later in the day, if you think of something, you are more than welcome to email me. You will receive a link where you can view the recording of this and then also receive the commitment form so you can look over that. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to respond or reach out to me. And if you're ready to get started, just return that commitment form and we can go ahead and get your Arthritis at Work interface set up.
And I'm curious, can we ask the audience what industries you're from or what organizations or what have you? I'm
We
curious.
can. I will say that they can't come off of mute, so they do have to put it in the Q&A feature, but would love to hear if anyone is willing to share the industries that they're in the Q&A feature. It would be great to see.
The button may be hidden at the bottom of the screen somewhere.
Yes. Okay, we've got a Centers for Independent Living. That sounds very cool. We have to do some more
Fun.
research on that. Sometimes takes a minute to come through too. I got a construction
Ooh,
industry attendee, so that is great. The manual workforce, those in the manual workforce actually have a higher prevalence of arthritis than other industries. I think I shared that information with Caitlin because so many of her staff are really in that manual workforce side of things and not sitting at a desk. And so this
yes.
Arthritis at Work program can be very impactful in that area.
And we really did have participants of a variety of demographics. It
Mhm.
wasn't all women, it wasn't all men, it wasn't all youths, it wasn't all people 60 and up. It was a really good blend of people from all different demographics. So if yours is one or the other predominantly, give it a try still. It can be formatted in all different ways. The advertisement, I mean, you're given a lot of the advertisement, so that makes it really easy too. And then you can add to that whatever communication or lingo works best for you to communicate with your team to encourage it.
For
The
sure.
construction would be great. It's whole health too. It's like, it's not just like knee pain, but
Yeah.
most might perceive, just achy fingers or achy knees as arthritis, but it's more than that. It addresses like sleeping, eating, drinking, all the things.
Yeah. Goal setting. There's so many great
Yes.
resources. I always think about how my life might have been changed if I had had access to Arthritis at Work at a younger age, um, since I was so affected by arthritis early in life.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Love that there's construction on here. It's fantastic. Pleased to meet.
Perfect. Thanks for your feedback, guys. Glad to hear some people speaking up in the comments. It's always good. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I appreciate everyone's time here today so much. Thank you for joining us. Again, I'll be sending you a link. You can share that with colleague if you need to, or rewatch a part that you maybe missed. And I look forward to welcoming you all into the Arthritis at Work family.